So I'm not going to speculate, I'm not going to throw out an opinion on this, but I gotta ask, what do you think that curse mark was that Zero put on the Mercenary? I don't have a clue in how. I don't know. She just said it'd make you appreciate me or whatever. Maybe it was the curse that would, eventually turn him into a human. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate, but I am dying to know your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think? And as always, no spoilers down in the comments below. And boy, did we feel the romantic undertones this episode of Grimoire Zero, episode 4. So this episode has so many, romantic undertones, from what Zero said to the Mercenary, and at the same time, how the Mercenary even reacted during the kissing scene with the two people kissing, and, Zero's like, what is that? Like, what are they doing? And he's like, yeah, I'm so jealous. And he's like, I mean, happy for them. So we get a little insight of the Mercenary. We see how he truly is. He's lonely too. He's lived an isolated life. And the same thing for Zero. And this is the thing I want to jump into just before this, because this did two great things with the money scene and the kissing scene. It showed that Zero understands the world. Like, she knows what love is. She knows what all these things are. But she doesn't understand it in context. She doesn't know its true meaning, and she, it shows how socially inept she is too at the same time with the whole kissing thing, right? And it just goes to show she has lived that, that life of total isolation, really, for the most part. I mean, we'll get into that a little bit more later in the video, but it goes to show why these two should be together. It shows why they're, they clearly like each other. You can clearly tell they're fond of one another, even though we see the Mercenary who kind of runs away from it, and we see Zero who doesn't run away from it. And it's interesting because, the Beast Fallen or the Mercenary, he knows what love is. And we have Zero who knows what love is, but not in context. Maybe she does now, but still not completely, right? Obviously, she's just throwing herself out there to kiss him. But I think, the fact of the matter is, Zero does love the Mercenary. Like, she doesn't just like him, she does love him. And it makes sense that she's already connected to him, that much, because she's lived a life of basically total isolation. To, in the sense that she goes as far, towards the end of the episode, in the very last scenes, and says, I don't know my parents either. Just after the Mercenary and the blonde-haired kid, announced that, which that's really going to connect those two characters, may I add. And it just goes to show she doesn't even know her parents, even though they're not dead. And she states that I could have even had conversations with them, but I don't know. So the context there demonstrates the setting in which she lives in, and that setting would have been, we reproduce just so we have our numbers, and whatever that group, that group that they were in, whatever it was nothing. There's no love, there's no compassion. It was science. It was science, quote unquote, right? There was no love, there was no compassion, and it makes sense because, now we have Zero who's getting thrown into this brand new world and read about all these concepts, like love once again, but doesn't really understand it. And it makes sense that she connects to the Beast Fallen on such a high level immediately, because she's feeling all these emotions she's read about, but she doesn't understand him, and he's the first one to really not necessarily go out of the way, but she's the first one, he's the first person that she's actually socialized with. And so that, that connection is going to be instant, right? It's like that first time you get into high school and you actually start feeling all these, you're maturing, you're feeling all these emotions. The first girl you usually talk to and start connecting to ever so slightly, that's usually the one you're attracted to, you get connected to them. You fall head over heels for them, per se. And that's what this is basically demonstrating in this episode of Grimoire Zero. And it's a beautiful thing. And I don't know if the insert songs were different this episode than previous episodes. I'm not sure. I'll have to start paying attention to that. But damn, do they do a good job of demonstrating this. Sometimes music speaks dialogue. And I think that Grimoire Zero does do that ever so slightly. The best show I've seen at this, really personally to me, is Hate Jushin no Grimgar. I don't know about you guys, but it's something that really was, interesting me and excited me, and I'm glad to see where the show was going, because at the end we even get those ReZero-esque vibes, which we'll jump into later once again. But it makes sense that these two are so well connected already, and or love one another. It makes sense because they both live these total isolated lives. But at the same time, we do once again actually get those, the whole symbolizing, hey, people can get along. Beast Fallen can get along with humans and witches too, which is more so the Beast Fallen versus humans, how they got along with the whole healing thing, and how, those kids give him a necklace and they're thanking him and telling him, you're not a bad Beast Fallen, and you even see the parents waving them off. So we see that they can get along. There's people that can get along. It's just, I guess, I don't know how to put it, just, I guess the prejudice, how prejudiced people are, like, against certain people because who they are in this show. I guess the best way to put it is it's so sporadic. It's all spread out. There's groups within inside and whole, a whole entity. And by entity, I'm referring to the towns. Each town has these groups are just so sporadic and or I guess racist in a sense towards the fallen beast and or the witches. So I guess the racism is so sporadic per se. I guess that's not the best word to use, but you guys get my point overall. It's just so sporadic, so it's hard to actually find a place where you belong when everyone has a different opinion. But just really quick, can I just say the B-roll once again, insert song's beautiful, but we have Zero leaning up against our beast Fawn. He doesn't care. Then the blonde-haired kid comes over and he slings him. This show does a great job of comedy too. I mean, I gotta hand it to. I just once again, I mean, I just truly love how they're able to make these characters bounce and or ricochet off one another so well. It's done extremely well. Given the blonde kid's not necessarily my favorite kid by no means, but Zero and once again, the mercenary. Beautiful. I'm loving every second. We also learned that the Grimoire of Zero has 4 divided parts. It was hunting, harvest, capture, and protection. And obviously protection is just protecting yourself with magic. Harvest is being able to find food through magic. And capture can be used for quite a few things, I would assume. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. Capture, to capture things, I guess. And then, what was the awesome hunting, I believe it was actually. So I mean, hunting's for food, harvest is I guess for both. I'm not really sure. Hopefully we get a little bit more context on that. I mean, hunting's kind of self-explanatory, protection's kind of self-explanatory, and at the same time, harvest is I guess self-explanatory too. But it's kind of weird because we have them talking about using harvest magic and that's how they find their food. So what would hunting be for? Would hunting not be for finding food? I don't know. Beats me, so leave down in the comments below what do you guys think it could be for, unless I'm just overthinking this. Maybe it's just me, maybe it's not. But we also do get some characterization for our main male character, the Beast Fawn and our mercenary, in the sense that he wants to open a tavern someday, and he does seem like that, that tavern-esque kind of guy. He likes that, I guess, that cool, chill kind of mood with the damp lights and just having a couple of drinks, talking. So his character does fit that description actually of having his own bar and stuff like that. So that was really neat. I'm glad we get a little bit more insight on him. And he, now that I think about it, he does seem like that calm, cool, collected guy, of course. But when it comes to be socializing, he probably socializes a lot more when he's probably drinking. Except whenever he's drinking with Zero, of course, because then he's just kind of like, I'm annoyed. She's that one chick at the bar. Do not let her drink. But at the end of this episode, we actually finally get to the town. Was it Latete or something? Or Latte? We'll say it's Latte, even though it may not be pronounced that way. But hell, us English dub, or English anime reviewers usually mess up on pronunciations anyways, right? So, we get to the town that they've finally been wanting to get to, Latte, and everyone's dead. They look fried and stuff. In that exact moment, I really thought of ReZero in that exact moment, and it makes sense because Studio White Fox is the one doing it. It's a fantasy setting world, and I was kind of like, oh, it's got those ReZero-esque vibes. Is this show going to turn dark? Like, how dark is this show going to turn? Because obviously this is definitely a dark moment, so I'm wondering if it's going to build off that, and I think this show has to do that, because these shows that's doing right now are awesome. I think they're really great at setting up these things up and getting us connected to the characters, but it's going to have something else. The narrative can't just be, hey, let's love these characters every, each and individual episode, because it's not a slice of life. We need, as good as they did that, but we have to move on, and they're moving. If this is the part where it moves on and gets a little bit darker, get a little bit more action in there, get a little bit more plot progression in there, Studio White Fox is going to have a hell of a show on their hands, because it seems they're going that route, and this is the perfect time to do that. So I'm wondering how dark it's going to be. If you guys are familiar with the show, no spoilers, but definitely let me know down in the comments below, how dark do you think this show is going to become. But as always, guys, you've been Hex. Be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at Hex25. I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Thanks for watching, guys.